Welcome to Dodgers Dogs as part of the Dodgers Daily Network. Casey Porter here, hopefully joined by Austin Brubaker a little bit later, but he is out with friends tonight. Coach has athletic director duties tonight, and then obviously Coach Barrakoff is in the middle of his Sooner Athletic Conference season, and so he is busy as well. So you have me, Casey Porter here, so glad that you decided to tune in. And we have a lot to talk about here on Dodgers Dogs as part of the Dodgers Daily Network. And what I would really like this to be is since I'm by myself, I would like for this to be a show to where we talk about whatever it is that you want to talk about. So, hey, get on your phones, get on social media, get on whatever device it is that you contact all your Dodgers friends and get them over here to Dodgers Dogs as part of the Dodgers Daily Network. Let's have a great show tonight talking Dodgers baseball. Hey, I mentioned on our last show that I have a ton of interviews set up for next week. I am so excited about that. Garrett McDaniels, Patrick Copen, Cam Day, Elijah Hainline, Alex Makarewicz. We've got, I think I counted 10 different interviews, and those are the 10 guys that I've tried to contact first, because those are the guys that I wanted to talk to first for this reason or that. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. We're going to have a ton of prospect content and coverage with these guys. We're going to talk to as many of these guys as we can, tell you their backstories, tell you their pitch mixes, tell you their situations, how close they are to making an impact with Los Angeles. Tonight, I wanted to cover a couple of guys that I really think really took off last year that are way, way, way under the radar, kind of a Jack Dreyer type situation. And we're going to talk about Garrett McDaniels. We're going to talk about Cam Day. We're going to talk about Jacob Metter. And we're going to talk about Patrick Copen a little bit later and down the farm segment. That's who I want to talk about tonight. But who I really want to talk about is who you want to talk about. So whatever prospects and whatever prospect coverage you want to see, just let me know. Put it in the chat, and we will absolutely get after it, and we will talk Dodgers prospects. But I've got a ton of prospect coverage coming. Again, I'm hoping to catch up with Juan Apodaca, who was the manager of the Complex League team. He's going to talk all about those wonderful players that we have not covered that much here on Dodgers Daily. They actually won the Complex Championship this past season. Joendry Vargas and Emil Morales and all of those, Eduardo Quintero, which we saw actually at Rancho Cucamonga, and all of his great speed. He can cover all of those guys. I might try to get back in contact with Kevin LaChance, who was the hitting coach for them. And then going to talk to, I say that I'm getting ahead of myself, but Sean Coyne was the pitching coach for Rancho Cucamonga. Going to get a hold of him and talk to him about Engardo Henriquez and Ronaldo Yeen hitting 104, and all the pitching staff that went through Rancho Cucamonga. Every year I talk to Dave Anderson, pitching coach. Going to try to reach out to some of the hitting coaches there as well, including maybe there's I don't know. We'll see. I'm getting ahead of myself there. Let me keep moving on there. But Duran Olinger, the pitching coach for AA Tulsa, I usually talk to him every year. He will talk about all the guys at AA. And then Scott Hennessy is now the new manager of the AAA Oklahoma City Comets. I might reach out to him. I usually do him in season. He likes it a little bit better in season. But we will also talk to Alex Friedman about the new AAA. Well, I say that. I'll reach out to Alex. He'll either say yes or no. He's always said yes in the past. And we'll talk about the new rebranding of the AAA part of the franchise to the Comets, which is named after one of the most famous not Dodgers, but one of the most famous baseballers ever. And then out of a small town in Oklahoma, Commerce, Oklahoma, the Commerce Comet is what they called him. Mickey Mantle's who we're talking about, and that is where the Oklahoma City Comets name came from. The Bricktown Ballpark in Oklahoma City, the street right out front is Mickey Mantle Drive. Across the street, you have Mickey Mantle Steakhouse. You have a statue of Mickey Mantle out front. I had a chance to meet Mickey Mantle several different occasions at different baseball events. He actually, when I had cancer, when I was 12 years old. He actually wrote me an impromptu note. I still have it hanging up. Matter of fact, I posted on social media about a week or so ago. Well, the day after that they posted the new rebranding, about how he wrote, "Hang in there, Casey." And I still have that. I framed it, and it is up on my wall now. So very appropriate name there as far as naming the AAA Oklahoma franchise after Mickey Mantle. So going to bring in Alex Freedman, talk to him about all of those kinds of things, and just continue with as many interviews as we can get. We're going to have hot takes. We're going to have launch angles. We're going to have all of those kinds of prospect features. And again, I want it to be geared by the viewer. You tell me who you want to cover. We will all talk about, I'll throw the video up there on the board. We will all talk about them together, and we will get after it. So those are some of the things coming down the pike. What's coming down the pike right today, as you see as the headline and the thumbnail says, Willie be a Dodger? That's a question mark. You know, last show was building a dynasty, and I put an exclamation mark, not a question mark, because I have said many times, I think if the Dodgers win that first World Series, bust through and cut that cap off, that I think, you know, it's kind of like, you know, here in Oklahoma, we have all these thunderstorms and tornadoes and all this weather. Well, sometimes you have a cap on it. So, yeah, you have all the right ingredients to get big-time thunderstorms and hail and tornadoes and all that, but then you have a cap that keeps it from igniting, right? So if you can get rid of that cap, then all of a sudden those ingredients work together. Now, boom, here you have all these thunderstorms. To me, that's what this first World Series is going to do for the Dodgers. It's going to bust through. It's going to allow them to get comfortable and relax and really just start building a roster year after year after year that will be the best in baseball. And so it starts again with Willie Adames, okay? Willie Adames is rumored to have been offered by both the Mets and the Yankees. And you might say, well, the Mets have Francisco Lindor, right? And they have Mark Vientos, right? Because the rumor is if he goes to the Mets, he would probably move to third base, which seems odd to me because I think that's probably a deal breaker for Willie Adames. The one thing you always – now, I'm going to be real transparent here. I've seen Willie Adames play quite a bit, but I'm not an expert whatsoever on Willie Adames. But the one thing that everybody to a consensus believes about Willie Adames, and the statistics would back, is that he is an elite defender at shortstop. So why in the hell would you go get Willie Adames and all of his swing and miss and put him in third base? That's just an odd scenario for me. I get it. You have Francisco Lindor, and really what you're trying to do is just pile up talent, and you're just trying to pile up the best, the most amount of elite baseball players you possibly can, and then just try to figure out places where they can all play and plug them in. But I have to think that's going to be a deal breaker for Willie Adames. So it looks to me like, I mean, this is preliminary, but if the Dodgers get serious about Willie Adames, I think they're going to get him if that's the route that they go. I said it on the last show, I think the two positions the Dodgers need to fill is another starting pitcher, one that you can do like you did Yoshinobu Yamamoto and plug in as what you're expecting to be an ace-level type pitcher, and then either or a center fielder or shortstop, because Tommy Edman's going to be the other. So the question is, who is the best player out there? So if you go get a Willie Adames and you plug him in at shortstop, then that puts Tommy Edman in center field. If you go get an elite center fielder, or if you go get Juan Soto, and then that moves Andy Pages to center, then that puts Tommy Edman at shortstop. That's the beauty of the versatility that Tommy Edman brings you, is that the Dodgers now can go shop for the best player, and as we mentioned on the last show, not just the best player, the best fit. they can say, okay, well, we can go get Willie Adames or Juan Soto. Doesn't make any difference with us because Tommy Edman can play both center field and shortstop. So if we go get Juan Soto, that moves Andy Pages to center, and then that moves Tommy Edman to short. Everything's great. This is all assuming that MookieBetts plays second base, which I think we can all agree that that is going to be the case, right? So, but then again, if you go get Willie Adames, that puts, again, Tommy Edman in center, so you can go either way with that. So I'll be interested to see what your thoughts are on Willie Adames. I'm not super fired up about it. I like the bat-to-ball type skills. I've said this many different times. The Dodgers already have Teoscar Hernandez. They already have Max Muncy. They have guys that have a lot of swing and miss in their game. If James Outman becomes any part of the equation in center field, which there's no reason why he couldn't be, because, again, he was a borderline elite center fielder his rookie year that he played. Obviously, last year was not as good, but that's what happens in baseball. I mean, there's no way you can take the talent of James Outman and write him off at this point. I mean, there's been hundreds, if not thousands, of ball players have, a really good year, then a really bad year, and then figure it out and become a really, really good center fielder. So if James Outman becomes back into the equation, Andy Pages is going to strike out quite a bit. Let's say that you make a platoon in center field between Pages and Outman. That's something that Jay brought up in our last show. So now you have Max Muncy, who strikes out a lot. Now you have Teo Hernandez, who strikes out a lot. Now you have center field with Outman and Pages that's going to strike out a lot. Okay? So now if you add Willie Adames to that, on any given day, that's 4 guys in your lineup that are very big-time boom or bust. And I'm just not in the favor of going back to that style of offense. I think it was the execution. I think the statistics proved out. Joe Davis did just an absolutely awesome job on the broadcast pointing this out, that somehow you have to be a team that figures out how to put the ball in play while you're hitting home runs. So it's not just about putting the ball in play like we saw with the Padres, right? So you don't want to be a team that just solely concentrates on let's just hit a dribbler to the second base and say we're doing good just because we didn't strike out. It's not about that. But then it's also not about just hitting home runs. So just hitting home runs and striking out and walking, that hasn't worked either. Okay, so what the Dodgers did is that they figured out how to keep hitting the home runs. Thank you, FreddieFreeman. Thank you, Will Smith. Thank you, Teo Hernandez. Thank you, MookieBetts. Thank you to Tommy Edman. Thank you to everybody who hit home runs in the postseason. So they figured out how to continue to hit home runs, but then also put the ball in play. So what you saw was a Dodgers team that had a different approach at the plate based on the situation at hand. So if you're in a situation to where you need to let the big dog eat, then, hey, let's have at it. Let's not worry about swinging and missing. Let's not worry about striking out. And let's see if we can really hit the ball hard somewhere. And if it gets up in the air, it's a home run. But like we saw in the clinching game with 2 strikes, if all you need is a fly ball to score a run and to advance a runner, then just cut down on your stroke. Look for a pitch up in the zone. Find the bottom of the ball and hit a fly ball somewhere. The Dodgers did that twice in a row. So I'm being long-winded because I'm by myself, for one. All to say, I loved watching the Dodgers execute. I loved watching the Dodgers put the ball in play. I loved watching the Dodgers with the first and third best play in baseball, safety squeeze bunts. I loved watching the Dodgers hit sacrifice flies. I loved watching the Dodgers out-execute the Yankees to win the World Series. So by saying that, if you have Willie Adames, Teo Hernandez, Max Muncy, and James Outman, all 4 in your lineup all at the same time, to me, there's a little bit too much of the potential to not be a team that executes the game of baseball with almost half your lineup. Because keep in mind, yes, you still have Shohei, yes, you have Mookie, yes, you have Freddie, who are all great hitters, but they're not going to be great hitters at all times throughout the season. Those guys are going to go in slumps, maybe 2 or 3 at a time. So if you have half your lineup almost, that's 4 guys that are boom and bust, and they go boom or they go bust on any given night, and then also 2 of your 3 guys aren't hitting, which is going to happen for long periods of time. I don't care how great you are throughout a season. Now you're looking at another Dodgers offense that will score 8 runs one game, none the next, and we're happy one day and bitching and moaning the day after. That's what I do not want to go back to. Okay, and then also just looking at Andrew Friedman's comments today, I was so pumped reading these comments. How many times here on Dodgers Dawgs, as part of the Dodgers Daily Network, have we, well, just go back to the show that I did when the Dodgers got eliminated last year by the Arizona Diamondbacks in the ALDS. And the whole show was just based on the fact that something has to change. Okay? If you follow Dodgers Dawgs as part of the Dodgers Daily Network, you know we are a fan of Dave Roberts. We believe in Dave Roberts, but we also believe that Dave Roberts needed to have more of an outcome-based type approach to the way that he managed. We felt like even the front office needed to have more of an outcome-based approach. We felt like it was too process-oriented throughout the playoffs. And the process-oriented mindset is wonderful for 162. It prepares everybody for the playoffs. It keeps everybody happy. I think it maximizes everybody's production over 6 months. Doesn't work in the playoffs. Playoffs are all outcome-based. They are cutthroat. They need to be, hey, dude, I love you, but I feel like this other guy gives us a better chance to win this game, and damn it, I want to win. It has to be that type of mentality. And I love the fact that Andrew Friedman himself said that the playoffs are a different beast. There is more of an outcome-based philosophy to it. He said that, which is exactly what we've been saying going all the way back to last year and then the year before when the Dodgers got beat by the Padres. So he realized something had to change, and what they changed was the mentality to be a little bit more outcome-based, starting, as we said last show, with the decision 10 days in to spring training to move Gavin Lux off of shortstop. Continuing on with MookieBetts wants to play second base. Too bad. Hey, we know you're a Hall of Famer. You're an all-star. You're one of the greatest players ever to walk the face of the earth. Go to right field, Mookie, because we want to do what's best for the team, and what's best for the team right now is for you to go to right field, right? Okay, Blake Trinan, the closer, no doubt about it, because that's who the Dodgers felt like they trusted the most with those 3 outs instead of Michael Kopech, right? How about the way they used Evan Phillips, getting the biggest 3 outs of each game, within the face of Dodgers fans just not trusting Alex Vesia whatsoever. The Dodgers continued to understand how good this guy actually had been, and they continued to use him, and he absolutely delivered. So the Dodgers, they changed to become more of an outcome-based philosophy. And yes, they still had the process base to it, but there was more outcome base to it. And because of that, I really feel like the Dodgers just had a bigger sense of urgency. And that sense of urgency is what was missing. And I think a large part of that is, I think Teo Hernandez injected a big sense of that type of excitement and energy into this club. I think what Shohei Ohtani did by deferring all that money kind of made everybody feel like you know what? Ohtani didn't defer all this money for us to come and lose in the first round to the Padres again. So, whenever the Dodgers were facing elimination, they made a pact with themselves. Damn it, this ain't the way we're going out. We ain't doing it like this, right? They made a promise to themselves. We ain't going out like this. And they didn't. They came right back. They had the bullpen game. And that's because I think that is a direct reflection of the fact that, first of all, they had failures the couple of years before, and they didn't want to do that again and duplicate that. But more so than anything, I just think it was the expectations that acquiring a Shohei Ohtani put on this club. They just felt like it was just not acceptable in any way, shape, or form to lose in the NLDS. So I say all that to say I like the execution part of the offensive style of game that the Dodgers played this year, because I have said it, I don't know how many times, executing winning baseball plays is what wins you close games. And what wins you close games, the same style of baseball, executing winning baseball plays, that same style that wins you close games is also the same style that wins you playoff games when the other teams have their dudes on the mound 100% of the time. So if you can execute the game of baseball and then also hit home runs like the Dodgers did, that is your formula. And then imagine this, the Dodgers continue to execute the game. So yes, Willie Adames hits home runs, but does he execute winning baseball plays on offense? That would be my question for you. Again, I've watched Willie Adames play quite a bit. I'm not an expert on him. I don't think I could give you, I think my answer probably would be somewhat of a no. And so however strong my no on that would be how strong I would be on saying, do the Dodgers really need Willie Adames? Or should they go for somebody else like a center fielder that can hit for a higher average and put the ball in play more and execute more winning baseball plays? That would be more to my liking. That would be more of what I would favor as far as that move, because I think the Dodgers have enough explosive boom and bust guys already to where they need to continue to add. That's why I keep going on and on, guys. I mean, I know when you look at statistics and this and that, Tommy Edman, you can say whatever. But the element of execution that he brought to this team cannot be understated. And it's not just the execution that he gave the Dodgers. It was also just the visual and the leadership and execution that kind of showed everybody else what it's like and how. So like whenever you watch one of your teammates execute and you go, damn, we just scored 3 runs because our dude just executed, that actually works. And you start seeing it with your own eyes how this stuff works together and how it actually affects games and how it wins you games. Then you start getting buy-in by everybody else. Then you have even, everybody else on the team going, well, damn, man, now I've seen it with my own eyes. If we execute, we win. Now all of a sudden you are situational hitting 1,000% better this year than the Dodgers ever did. And because you're situational hitting, now you're able to overcome pitching limitations. You're able to continue with momentum, and you're able to play winning baseball. So, hey, those are some of my opening thoughts. What a great crowd we have logged in tonight. I got kind of long-winded there, but those are just kind of my opening thoughts on Andrew Friedman's comments, the Willie Adames situation. Again, going to get into a ton of prospect stuff tonight. Going to show you Garrett McDaniels. Going to show you Patrick Copen. Going to show you Cam Day. Going to show you Jacob Metter. Some guys that you may not have heard of, okay, that you need to. These are guys that I think you need to get your names familiar with. And then again, if you have anybody you want to cover, Kendall George is one right there. We will cover him, and we will get into him. That is from Craig Osterberg. Craig, thank you so much for joining this evening. I greatly appreciate your wonderful support. We already have a comment from BC about Willie Adames, and BC says, hopefully not. Hey, go ahead and weigh in. in the chat right now. Actually, go leave a comment. Not in the chat, but in the regular comment section. Do you want Willie Adames or not? Just leave a yes or a no in the comment section. Leave that. And on your way over there, click that like button. And if you have not hit the subscribe button, please do. Charlie Stokes, thank you so much for joining. Good evening to you. Looking forward to a really good show. What does the outfield look like this year when Mookie goes to second base? So I think your outfield is Teoscar Hernandez. In left field, I think it's Andy Pages in right field. And then I think you either give James Outman another go at it, or you put Tommy Edman out there, like we just talked about. It could be Tommy Edman if you get a Willie Adames, or if you want to go free agent, you can go get a free agent to put in center field. Or you could go get a right fielder in Juan Soto, somebody like that, and then Andy Pages and James Outman could be your platoon there. What's going on with River Ryan? Yeah, he's injured, and he probably, I don't want to speak out and with Tommy John. So, I mean, that's going to be a long road back for him. That's just a terrible situation for him. I don't want to speak ahead and the injury deals are very difficult. The Dodgers do not release a whole lot on that. So I really don't want to get ahead and talk a whole lot about length of time and all that kind of stuff. I have not communicated with River since the injury, other than to say, tough deal. These guys in these situations, they don't want to be bothered. They want to just put their nose to the grindstone. They want to get back as soon as they can. Like Kyle Hurt, I communicated with him when it happened. Said, man, this sucks. I hate to hear it. Haven't communicated with him since. When he starts getting backing up and throwing, that kind of deal, then I'll reopen the communication if they choose to on their end. But yeah, a very tough situation for River Ryan, and one that is really, really difficult to stomach, because he was one that likely would have played, I think he definitely would have at least been the Edgardo Henriquez role, right? I mean, he would have been, I think, probably a anywhere from somewhat of a contributor, probably more than Landon Knack was, because he has the more of the high riding four seam type stuff. Anywhere from there, that type of contributor to Landon Knack to even more than that, because that dude was good. So Tommy John gonna miss all next year. Who knows how much he's gonna miss of 2026? That situation makes me sick to my stomach. That's just terrible. Hey, we have a comment here. We want to talk about Kendall George. So let's talk about Kendall George. Let's get after it. Let's get the video on the board, and let's talk some Kendall George here. Let me get it up here, and then I will move this over, and we will get after it right there. Kendall George. Okay, here we go. This is the type of game that I really love. Here's the bunt base hit right here. See how he pulled that down the first base line and beat the pitcher to the bag? And then I've also seen him push bunt, and then right here, push bunt. That's in the same game. Actually, it's back-to-back at bats. So you see him pull, you see him drag bunt the first time, saw him push bunt the second time, and then you see him do that right there. Slap the ball to left field. That is Brett Butler. That is the game that Kendall George has with his 80 grade speed. There is your bunt to first base. And then here's another example when he's not bunting right here. Boom. That is Kendall George, left center. So he obviously didn't hit that ball very hard, but just put the ball in play. Bunt, I think Kendall George with his speed, see gap to gap right there. Kendall George with his speed, he could hit 250 just because of his speed, via bunts, via beating out infield base hits, via doing all those kinds of things. And then you stack on actually putting some weight on what the thing that see right there. There's an infield base hit. I think he can hit 250 doing that right there, and then also bunting and using his speed. And then whether he can get up to the 300 or the 350 type hitter, which we all want him to become, look at that hit right back up the middle, will determine how many times he can square the ball up. Now, his strengths, I just went over all of his strengths. You might ask, what are his weaknesses? This actually, what you're seeing here, is a part of a 5-hit game that he had this year. Just size and strength. Got to continue to get bigger. Got to continue to get stronger without losing speed. Because at this point, I would say the one thing that probably gives him the biggest fits is high velo, especially high velo located to parts of the zone that are very difficult for him to handle. So I think high velo can beat his bat right now a little bit more than probably he would like. And so I think that would probably be his biggest weakness. And I think the only way to overcome that weakness is to continue to grow that body. Keep in mind, he was drafted straight out of Atascocita High School. So, I mean, he's 19 years old. He has plenty of time to continue to develop. So, yes, there is last year's 2023's first-round draft pick, Kendall George, and all of his great skills there. So, hey, great person to start off with, Craig Osterberg. Hey, Guy Smithson, rushing time for big league. Finally, yes. Let me actually get to some video of Dalton Rushing and kind of let me show you some examples. This is just a couple of examples. If I can actually get to the parts that actually give me just a second. It's going to be a little bit clunky because I am by myself. But if you've heard me talk about Dalton Rushing, the part that I have talked about with him is just the leadership and the dog that he brings. So let me back this up. Now, what I want you to watch in this clip, that's actually Jack Little. To watch Dalton Rushing, the catcher here. Jack Little is a very, very, very quiet person. Went to Stanford. He's very cerebral. That's actually Carson McCusker, who went to OSU. I know Carson very well. I've done several camps with him. So I love Carson McCusker. Hated to see him to strike out, but love to see it being a Dodger doing it. There's Dalton Rushing right there. I mean, this is like just a mid-season June game. But what I really like about this is against Wichita. And Wichita is like a huge rival to Tulsa. They actually gave the series a name, the Helicopter Series, because it's really kind of a heated little rivalry. And that heated rivalry, the bigness of it, brought out the best in Dalton Rushing. Look how he is pumping Jack Little up to the point to where Jack Little is starting to feel emotions. Jack Little's starting to talk crap. He's looking in the other team's dugout. And look at right there. He's talking to himself. And Jack Little is ready to kick the Wichita Wind Surge's ass. And that is largely, if not 100%, because of that catcher right there, Dalton Rushing. This is one example. And you can see Jack Little talking crap all the way to Dalton. Continues to talk crap as he walks off. That is one example of the type of dog and emotional investment that Dalton Rushing makes in the game of baseball. And like I said, keep in mind, this is a random game in the middle of June, but it was a big game because it was against the Wichita Wind Surge. He felt like his kind of laid-back closer type guy needed a little kick-ass energy, and he injected it into him, and I have seen him do that I don't know how many different times at Louisville. I saw him do it with Great Lakes. I saw him do it at Rancho Cucamonga. This dude, I would hate it if he doesn't become the everyday catcher for the Dodgers because of that type of emotional energy that he brings. I love Dalton Rushing. I love just the competitive edge and element that he has. That is why I have said him and Edgardo Henriquez are the two most untouchables. I never say anybody's untouchable because if you get the right offering, you have to strike, right? If somebody wants to trade Shohei Ohtani back when it was the Angels straight up for Dalton Rushing, I mean, come on, right? So nobody's untouchable. So when I say it, I say the most untouchable. He definitely was that guy, him and Edgardo Henriquez for the Dodgers. So, hey, we have, surprisingly, most Dodgers fans that I'm reading so far are on my side that the Dodgers do not need Willie Adames. Hey, Alex the God, our wonderful moderator, says don't think Willie Adames ends up a Dodger. Don't think they want to spend that kind of money for a player that is slightly above average, career 109. Yeah, I think WRC Plus is the number you're looking there. J Maga 22, Dodgers don't need Adames. See, this is surprising me. I figured, the Dodgers fans usually like their new toys, right? And Willie Adames is that toy that you always hear about around Christmas time that everybody wants, right? And so I kind of figured most Dodgers fans would want Willie Adames. That goes to show you just how smart, in my opinion, Dodgers fans are, especially here in the community of the Dodgers Dawgs. It's part of the Dodgers Daily Network. BC, I hope they get someone who can get more hits. Lineup already has a lot of power. Ding, 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 BC. Standing ovation. I say it all the time. The Dodgers Dawgs crowd, as part of the Dodgers Daily Network, is the best baseball crowd in the world. You just saw two examples back to back right there. Well done, BC. Hey, my screen just refreshed. So let me get back up to the top. I am behind because I talk a lot and I got behind on the chat. So let me scroll back up here. We've already talked about River Ryan. There's Alex the God. Hey, J-Maga, 22. Will Edgardo Henriquez get more playing time next season? Let's go ahead and move on to Edgardo Henriquez and throw him up on the screen. While we are talking about him, let me go ahead and put him up here. Here's Edgardo Henriquez, and actually let me get to my video of him right here. Yes, absolutely. I said this, I don't know how many times about Edgardo Henriquez, and so did Coach Barikoff. He absolutely was not ready. And I was somewhat surprised they took him to the... Here's what happened, okay? Edgardo Henriquez was going to be eligible for the Rule 5 draft. So the Dodgers were going to have to put him on the 40-man after the season was over before November 16th or whatever the Rule 5 draft is, or they were going to lose him. So he was going on the 40-man roster regardless. So knowing that, they're like, well, if we're going to have to put him on the 40-man anyways, why don't we just bring him up for the last week or so, get him a cup of coffee, let him feel what the major leagues is like, and then you start having injuries, and then you're like, well, hey, why don't we put him on the postseason roster in case we need somebody to come in? And actually, I don't even have his video up right now. I'm sorry. I was acting like we have his video up, but there it is right there. There's Edgardo Henriquez. Why don't we just put him on the roster in case we need somebody in garbage time or whatever? We're losing a game 5 or 6 runs. Then we can throw a Henriquez in there and let him get some experience. And so what the Dodgers did was they knew he wasn't ready. And what's not ready is the execution and the command, right? We saw quite a bit of that with his performances in the playoffs. And so, in my opinion, I've said it several different times. Here's another look at Edgardo Henriquez live. The Dodgers absolutely handled this guy beautifully. They brought him along slowly. They knew he wasn't ready, so they did not put him in any kind of even low-leverage situations. They put him in no-leverage situations so he could relax and do what he was capable of. And then, so they got that side of it, plus they got the experience side of it. So it could not have worked out any better for Edgardo Henriquez. And so moving on to this year, I think the Dodgers are going to get him a lot of major league time this year. So to answer your question, yes, I think he is going to have the chance to show out and have a major role, because when you can throw a 94-mile-an-hour bullet slider, when you can hit 104, you are special. And keep in mind, he used to be a starter and he came off of Tommy John last year. So he did all of this, 4 levels coming off of Tommy John, which Tommy John, there's not any pain when you come back off of it, but what you lose is the feels, which is why his command wasn't as good. So I'm super excited about Edgardo Henriquez, no doubt about it. Charlie Stokes, when is Jackson Ferris going to pitch for the Dodgers? I think the Dodgers have a lot of depth, so I think it's possible he could make an ETA next year. I think it's most likely going to be 2026. I think Jared Karros is probably going to ETA next year. I think probably Jack Dreyer, a reliever, will ETA. Having said that, like a Justin Robleski type arc, I mean, if the Dodgers start rolling out injuries like they did this last year, that would be the path for Jackson Ferris. But I do think just from a depth perspective, I mean, just look at all the different, we went over the different pitchers the other night, and I didn't even mention Emmett Sheehan, right? Whenever he gets back. So I think he's probably going to, at some point this next season, be ready, but will there be opportunity for him? That's where I probably doubt that. Alex the God, zero chance Juan Soto is a Dodger. They will not pay him $500 million. I would totally agree with that, and I would also agree that that would be the right move. They need Max Fried, says Pete on Switch. Hey, Fried Burns are from L.A. and have indicated they'd want to come here. That's from B.C. Yeah, Corbin Burns would be a good pickup, and Max Fried, yeah, no doubt. Those would be really, really good pickups. Hey, Orlando, good evening. Thank you so much for joining. What a wonderful crowd we have logging in. I'm really rooting for James Outman to turn around. He was a AAA All-Star this year. James Outman, it's going to be all about can he actually get that. We kind of skirted on it last show that we had. And let me get some video up on him. That way we can kind of be watching some of the adjustments that he made last year, just so you can kind of see the most recent version of James Outman on your screen as we're looking at this. This is live video I took. I would say this is end of August, maybe early, end of August. This is James Outman, so this is fairly recent video. But James Outman, the thing about him, as we know, the breaking ball obviously is a big issue with him, but it's just the swing and miss. So yes, AAA All-Star last year, 89ers. That's my hat right there. That's what I wished that the Oklahoma City AAA club would have branded to, but it is what it is. So strikeout percentage last year was 35.3 at the major league level last year. So when you look at James Outman, it is going to be all about can he tame the swing and miss. And let me get to some of his minor league numbers, because again, he was a minor league all-star. And so let's kind of look at, I have not evaluated his numbers at the end of the season. So he had 265 minor league at bats. He had 279. He had an OPS of 933, and he struck out. Let me get down here. He struck out 2024. He struck out 81 times in those at bats that we talked about. So at the AAA level, actually struck out 63 times in 212 at bats. So getting better, I would say that's 61, 20, 240, right? Getting a little bit better, I could say maybe, yeah, still that strikeout rate needs to come down. So that's what it's going to come down to with James Outman. One thing I do like about what he did is he started to bunt a little bit for base hits. He did a really good job of that. So with his speed and being left-handed, that would add to his bat to ball, because if you're bunting it, you're not swinging and missing. And then also that could add to his average, because I think he could get on base by bunting some. And we saw him do that at the AAA level, which is part of the reason why he hit 279 and he was an all-star. So Orlando, I'm rooting for Outman too. Hey, Teo out, Muncy, Taylor plus Adames, all strikeout. I agree. We covered that just a minute ago. Can't have too many Max Muncy types in the lineup. Alex the God is agreeing with what I was saying. And so does Camel, the inspector. History man, go Dodgers, and God bless. History man, you rock, man. You always bring your A game. Appreciate you always showing up with your A game to Dodgers Dogs as part of the Dodgers Daily Network. Hey, Camel Toe Inspector, Max, I get free Dodgers paycheck, Muncy. Yeah, actually, Max Muncy had a WRC plus of, I believe, is 139 last year, and he played good defense in the postseason. Let me pull that up. And so I know the Dodgers are going to re-sign him, and he's probably going to be with the Dodgers, as Austin mentioned, for 2 more years, 1 more year under contract, and then another option year. He had a WRC plus of 135. He was a 2.6, actually 2.4 WAR player last year. So for the contract he's on, $10 million, he actually was very, and hey, I'm with you. I complain about his offensive profile more than anybody. Not about him, because he can hit. I saw him all the way back to Baylor. He always destroyed OSU. I remember watching him destroy OSU and Alley P. Reynolds Stadium. I think he hit 9 home runs over a 3-game weekend. It was something ridiculous like that. So I'm a believer in Max Muncy and him being able to hit. I just don't like his profile, the way that his profile has become as a professional. And so nobody complains about his offensive profile more than I do. But then whenever you look at the end of the year, it's a 135 WRC plus, it's a 2.5 WAR. And then this year, hey, his strikeout percentage was 26%. If James Outman can get down to 26%, I think he turns into a way above average center fielder again. So I would definitely take that strikeout percentage for James Outman every day and twice on Sundays. So, hey, Orlando, Max Muncy, each 6. Yeah. Okay, Camel Toe Inspector. All right, here we go. TSAO 1969. Willie Adames last 2 pitch in 2020 World Series were strike looking. He is guessing ball most of the time. Hey, BC Andrew Freeman said he hyperextended his knee while celebrating Freeman's walk-off. Yeah, good for him. I mean, not good that he hyperextended his knee, but good that he gets that invested and wrapped up in it, because that was a super exciting moment. Paul Charles, Casey, how are you doing? It's been a while. Thank you so much for joining, Paul. It has been a while. It's so glad to get to talk to you again. Thank you for joining Dodgers Dawgs as part of the Dodgers Daily Network. Hey, Motley. Motley is maybe the smartest baseball human being I have ever talked to. Thank you so much for joining, Motley. It's always a pleasure when you join the chat and leave your wonderful comments. It really surprised me that the Dodgers coveted Edman for a long time. Doesn't walk much, more contact than power. It gives me hope they're changing their philosophy, a philosophy that worked. Another thing that you can have hope on, Motley, is that it worked and they actually got over the hump and won the World Series, and there is no denying that executing winning baseball plays, yes, hitting the home runs, the FreddieFreeman home run, without that I'm not sure you win it, I understand, but there is a lot of evidence to say you won because you executed winning baseball plays. So there you go. There is a lot of excitement that the Dodgers maybe not completely changing their philosophy, but understanding the necessity to have balance, to have some dynamics to their offense, to be able to score in different ways. Alex the God, hey, they collected more high leverage arms as well. Also had terrible luck having healthy starting pitchers for the playoffs. Hey, Clayton Lockhart, thank you so much for joining. What up, Dodgers Dogs? Smash that like button. Definitely do. Rico Gutierrez agrees that there's too many analytics in the playoffs. History man. I was just watching Goose Gossage. He was so scary when I was a kid. Watching an interview with Goose Gossage about how he feels about the game today and his frustration with analytics and using computers to decide what to do in certain situations. Be proud of Dave Roberts. Yes, he used analytics, but he showed you the model of how the combination of analytics, like he did with the bullpen games, like I'll tell you, like the examples where he used analytics. Look at all the up downs, like where a guy would come in for the third out of an inning, have to go sit for 3 outs, come and then get 2 more outs, and then you match it up and this and that. Dave did a masterful job following the analytics in those situations on the margins, but then in the nut crunching time, he then also used his eyes. He used his gut. He used the trust tree, right? And so I think as much crap as Dave Roberts gets, which some of it in the past has been warranted, right? Every manager's in that situation. No matter who the manager would be, there's always going to be situations that you're going to shake your head at that don't work or whatever. But I honestly think Dave Roberts laid out the map of how to combine analytics with old school gut. It was absolutely masterful because the Dodgers, to be honest with you, didn't have a whole lot of margin for error. If Dave had made the wrong decisions, like he has in the past, like any manager has in the past, I don't think the Dodgers had enough margin for error to overcome mistakes by Dave. And so he had to be near perfect, and he was. And I think he showed us the formula for how you mix analytics with old school, just ride your gut and pluck off the trust tree, right? Hey, Paul Charles. Casey, do you think Jack Flaherty will be back or gone? I do not think he will be back. I think the Dodgers have a lot of great options to pick from. That's just me saying that. I have no inside information. I have nothing other than baseball experience to draw upon, and we'll see how that goes. I think also there's other factors based on who else can the Dodgers go get, how expensive they are. So there's a lot of conversations to be had. Roki Sasaki, does he post? All those kinds of things. And I think it's going to be a while before we get into the decisions made on those types of big-time free agents, if it's going to be, because I think there's other situations, like last year, we kept telling you in the offseason that the free agency deals weren't going to pick up until the ShoheiOhtani ball dropped, because everybody was waiting for that chip to see what else either they were going to do or what all the people around them were going to do, which would determine who was going to be available, right? And so I think maybe the Roki Sasaki ball dropping is something the teams are going to wait on. And so I think we may have to wait for those types of free agency type situations a little bit longer. But if you just ask me, my opinion today in the early part of November, I would probably say no. Tomatley says not excited for Adames, not unless they counterbalance the move by adding a contact bat somewhere. Again, another example of Dodgers Dawgs as part of the Dodgers Daily Network being the best baseball talk out there in a discussion. Best baseball fans, smartest comments, smartest chat, period, end of discussion. I will go to my grave with that. Great comment there, Tomatley. Totally agree. Hey, JMaga22, did the Dodgers mess up on trading Sweeney for Jack? No, not at all. Hell no. They won a World Series. And Jack Flaherty, keep in mind, Jack Flaherty won Game 1 of the World Series, which was huge, right? Okay, Jack Flaherty really contributed to the Dodgers winning a World Series. Plus, they did win a World Series, okay? And who takes the innings if Jack Flaherty doesn't? So if Jack Flaherty doesn't take down those innings, now maybe you're not as readily available for the bullpen games that you had to win. And you don't, so the Dodgers don't win the World Series without Jack Flaherty. I'll just say that point blank. And there is no way you can ever say you screwed up trading for somebody if he directly helped you win a World Series. So absolutely, not only do they not mess up in trading Jack Flaherty for Trey Sweeney, hell, they reached, even if they don't bring back Jack Flaherty back, he did for them more than Trey Sweeney, in my opinion. I love Trey Sweeney's swing, could ever do, and that is be a direct influence towards the Dodgers winning a World Series. When was that ever going to be the case for Trey Sweeney? I don't think he would have been the starting shortstop this next coming year. And so, no, I think that is a deal the Dodgers would do again. I think they would do it again every day. I think they would do it again twice on Sundays, and I would tell them to do it every single time. That's a great question, JMaga22. Hey, BC team already leads the major leagues in OPS. They hit 206 in the World Series, and they built an offense to where you can still go cold like the Dodgers did, but execute enough to score 1 or 2 runs here or there, and that be enough to win with good enough pitching. That's kind of going to my point that the Dodgers executed, even though that they were cold. Hey, BC Freeman broke 2 records to get them across the line. Yes, he did. Absolutely. So, like we said, the home runs are great, but you also have to have the bat to ball too. You have to have them both. That proved out. History, man, that was funny. The Dodgers won the World Series despite batting 206. Yes, Alex, Paul Charles. Edman will be in center field. Quincy Hibbler, Willie Adames led the entire major leagues in homers and hit with runners in scoring position. Miles better than Gavin Lux. Yeah, I don't think it's Willie Adames versus Gavin Lux, because I don't see any scenario where Gavin Lux goes back to shortstop. But maybe. I would prefer Edman be the shortstop, go find a center fielder. Unless, here's an interesting situation, which don't believe the rumors. The Rangers are not looking to shop Corey Seager. But if somehow you get Corey Seager back, I don't think Corey Seager wants to come back. So that is a dream scenario just from a Dodgers side. I don't think he's going to be available anytime soon for the Rangers. And even if he was, I don't think the Dodgers would be his number one choice anyways. Hey, Yang Yi, the way Edmund talks, I believe he prefers to play infield. Well, yeah, everybody prefers to play infield because you're closer to the action, especially dirt daubers like him that love to be part of the action. Playing shortstop's perfect for him because it keeps him right in the middle of it. So, yeah. Hey, Paul Charles, Dodgers need to sign Teoscar. That is a must. I agree. I said it last show. He needs 3 more years to get his 10-year pension. I said it last show. I thought it was going to be a 2-year contract with a club option for that 3rd year. I think that's the perfect contract for Teoscar Hernandez. Offer that, I think he will say yes. And let's go. Let's go. I mean, I like Austin said, Teoscar Hernandez is one of the worst defensive outfielders. That's the analytics part of it. But the dude came up with some massively huge 2-strike hits, like to center field, like to right center, like up the middle, that kind of thing. And then he hit some massively huge home runs, the Grand Slam being one of them. I mean, there were 4 or 5 different occasions where he just came up absolutely gigantic. And then he was just absolutely a hit with the fans. And he absolutely added to the competitive element and the competitive edge of this team. And he added to the great culture. Hi, Barn. One of my Dodgers dogs, Barn, is ready for Daddy to be done, I think. But he's going to have to wait a little bit because we have some great Dodgers baseball to talk about. Hey, Rico Gutierrez, we need more pitching. I've said it. I think the Dodgers need to go after one more ace. Hey, yeah, I think the Dodgers need to go after one more ace. I think that ace could be Roki Sasaki. I think that would be my number 1 target. Or maybe a Corbin Burns, somebody like that, and see what you can do from there. But I do think they need one more ace. I think their bullpen will be fine. I just think they need one more ace-level type pitcher. Hey, Quincy Hibbler-Paz won't be a good center fielder. Why put him there when Edmund can play that spot? I think Edmund, I've mentioned shortstop, Pages in right field. And then, maybe you try James Outman back there in center, or you go get a center fielder out of free agency. Clayton Lockhart re-signed Teo, keep Edmund, the reigning NLCS MVP. Bring Buehler back and Trinan back, and let's try for a repeat. Those are great comments, Clayton Lockhart. I can't disagree with any of that. Come here, Barn. Here, boy. Come on up. All right, Barn's going to have to hang out with Daddy for a minute because he's about to lose his mind over here. He likes to go for walks, and it's been raining for about 11 days in a row here in Oklahoma. We went in the rain today. We might have to go in the rain again whenever we get done again. So you're just going to have to deal with my Dodger dog, Barn here, and we'll continue to talk some wonderful Dodgers baseball here. We have a great crowd logged in. Hey, Charlie Stokes, we have 5 shortstops on the team. We need a really good outfielder besides Teo. Daryl Jackson, hi. Hey, good evening, Daryl. Thank you so much for joining. I would like to see some more young guys get their shots, no doubt. I think your next guys to see their shots would be Jack Dreyer would be one. We talked about Hunter Fiducia. He needs to be traded. And then Jackson Ferris, Justin Robleski get a few more shots. Ben Kasparius get more shots. And so there's quite a few guys that will be in position. Spring training will be a lot of fun. But I am with you there, Daryl. And I've said a couple times, I think by winning the World Series, that might relax the Dodgers into feeling like they have the ability to play some of their young guys more because it's not going to be just such the constant pressure of everything being geared towards winning the World Series, right? Like it kind of felt like last year. Hey, Yang Yi trade Lux and prospect for Luis Robert Jr. Yeah, Luis Robert Jr. would be the answer to a lot of problems, not all of them with the Dodgers, but that is a name the Dodgers fans have been flirting with for a long time. Cole, I would recommend watching Mookie's interview of Roberts. Great interview. I will go back and watch that. That sounds fun. History man, hey, it's the team's business. If they feel it's important enough to let us fans know, they will let us know, no doubt. Hey, Daryl Jackson says, I think that Gavin Lux is a trade candidate. I would totally agree with that. Mentioned that on the last show. And another reason why, not just because of the situation the Dodgers are in, I think he's at his peak value right now. The Dodgers got a lot out of him in the second half of the season. He showed to come up big at a big moment in the World Series. I think there's a lot of teams that would want that guy as their everyday second baseman. And playing time for him on this Dodgers squad is going to be very tough to find. So now I think is the perfect time to trade Gavin Lux, no doubt. Paul Charles, Casey, I think the Dodgers will trade for Garrett Crochet. Boy, that'd be nice. And Luis Robert. Boy, that would be nice too. So there you get your ace-level pitcher. There you get your center fielder. That puts Tommy Edman at short, and away you go. If the Dodgers got Garrett Crochet and Luis Robert, that is, to me, that's game, set, match. That's the end of it. Let's go win another World Series. Okay? And then you re-sign Teoscar and Edman, put Edman in center right. That's it. That's game, set, match. If you re-sign Teoscar, go get Luis Robert Jr. and Garrett Crochet. That is game, set, and match for me. J-Mag at 22. One thing I can't wait for is to see JoheiOhtani and Kendall George get called up. Yeah, JoheiOhtani has quite a ways to go. Kendall George has an even further way to go because, remember, this was just his first full season coming out of high school. So JoheiOhtani, he made it up to Great Lakes. So hopefully I'll get to see him in Double-A Tulsa this year. I can't wait. So, hey, Orlando, is Kendall George a contact guy? How are his walks? He will be a contact guy. It's hard to say right now, Orlando, because he's not as strong as he will be in 2 or 3 years. So I think the better way to put that is, will he be a contact guy once he completely develops his body? And the bat sometimes isn't swinging him, and he can match the velo of pitchers because he's strong enough to do so. Definitely will be a contact guy. He'll be a guy that can bunt, he can slap it the other way, he can hit the ball at the middle, that kind of thing. Hey, Cole, would Kasparius be a better starter or reliever? Definitely better starter. Ben Kasparius has breaking stuff. See, with Ben Kasparius, his breaking stuff's always been better than his fastball. And his breaking stuff, his slider, his changeup, all of that. His different shapes to his breaking balls. All of that has always been better than his fastball. So he has an arsenal that when he's executing his fastball, hitting the top of the zone with it, hitting it to the bottom of the zone to spots of safety, like he did the entire end of the season. Well, really he's done for about 1.5 years now. He's a guy that can get through a lineup 3 times at a major league level. So Ben Kasparius has too good of secondary stuff, too good of command of a secondary stuff to match what now is a 98-mile-an-hour fastball on occasion that is as good as his off-speed stuff. He has too good of command of off-speed stuff to only allow him to face 3 batters a night. He's a guy that can get through a lineup 3 different times. So I would say from the way that I see it, Ben Kasparius should be a starter. Hey, Sean Moses, thank you so much for joining. Will Cody Hosey ever be ready? He was ready last year. It's a matter of opportunity. It's not about being ready for him. It's about the fact that the Dodgers are going to have Max Muncy for 2 more years. They're probably going to re-sign Kike Hernandez, likely going to re-sign Chris Taylor. So it's just opportunity for him. But make no mistake about it. See, Cody Hosey last summer, okay, he started hitting well, fine. But then what happened is he started actually driving the ball, hitting the ball to left center field gap, right center field gap, started hitting home runs. I think he hit 17 home runs on the year. So Cody Hosey right now is ready. There's just no opportunity for him because the Dodgers have Max Muncy and also, other guys that can play third base on their roster. Daryl Jackson, can you also explain about Alex Freeland? Hey, Barn. Alex Freeland is a young man that got off to a great start last year. He's a guy that's always been extremely talented. He's a very hard worker. He's in the James Outman boat. It's a wait and see to see if he can tame the swing and miss. It's as simple as that. He's good enough defensively to play shortstop. I think he can play a major league shortstop. Obviously, the 33 stolen bases shows you that he's a good enough athlete to play shortstop. So I think he can definitely be good enough defensively at shortstop. I think he's definitely an explosive enough hitter to be very effective. The question is, can he get his swing and miss rate down to a point of where it's not so outrageous like James Outman, that 33 to 35%, to where it becomes detrimental more than the explosive part of his game is a positive to it. So to kind of give you an example for Alex Freeland, this is what he has to contain right here. Okay? So if you look at what he did in 2022, strikeout rate, 30.6%. 2023 at Great Lakes, 28%. Like I said, he got off to a great start with Great Lakes, and that's because his strikeout rate went all the way down to 14%. Then he moved up to AA Tulsa, 21%. Then he went up to AAA Oklahoma City, 26%. So it was creeping back up there to that 28, close to 30% that he was used to having. Because of that, at the AA level, he hit 245. At the AAA level, he hit 243. And at the AAA level, his WRC plus was just 85. So the question with Alex Freeland is going to be, can he have enough contact and get around that, like he did with Great Lakes this year, get around a 15% strikeout rate? Because if he's around 15%, he's going to have a WRC plus around 140, 150. Matter of fact, his WRC plus with Great Lakes was 216. That goes to show you how effective he was. And with Tulsa, it was at 127. So if he, and that's with a strikeout rate of 21.4%. So if his strikeout rate with Tulsa was around 15%, his WRC plus would have been about 150, which is what he's capable of. So that's what we need to look forward to, excuse me, with Alex Freeland. See if he can work to those metrics. Hey, Paul Charles, Casey, I'd put Kershaw in May and Gonsolin in the bullpen to finish Kershaw's career with the Dodgers. Yeah, we'll see how healthy he comes back. Hey, Dodgers rotation, Mike Lopez says Ohtani, Yamamoto, Crochet, Sasaki, Glasnow, Miller, Frasso, Sheehan. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 man. Actually, there's a 6-man with Miller, Frasso, and Sheehan being that 6th man right there. Hey, Norm Lee, I think the Dodgers will see what happens with any of the big fish targets they might have before seriously engaging. Teo re-signing early would require money they would need for big fish. I think Teo's going to be I think he's going to be a priority for the Dodgers. They know what they have in him. Philip Gomez, go get a young shortstop stud. Ellie Gunner, Ellie De La Cruz, Gunnar Henderson, Abrams or Rockio Edmond, center fielder Pajes, right field Teo, left field trade for Skubal or Crochet or Peralta. That's a pretty good plan right there. Very aggressive. Normally I like Sasaki, but keep in mind he is not as experienced or accomplished as Yamamoto, and he has had health issues last year. High ceiling, but definitely not a finished product. Temper expectations. Wouldn't disagree, but re-adding ShoheiOhtani, Tyler Glasnow, Yamamoto, and all these guys to the rotation, he wouldn't have the needed expectations. Yamamoto needed to come into the Dodgers and be an ace immediately. And so because of that, there are a lot of expectations placed on him. So, hey, what we're going to do right now is I got through all the chat there. What we're going to do is we're going to dive into some down on the farm, and we're going to cover some of the players that I wanted to talk about. If you have any, leave them in the chat. We will get to them and talk about them as we move around. But the first player that I want to talk about right here, I wanted to show you, and stick with me. This is Garrett McDaniels right here, okay? This is a young man that is absolutely awesome, okay? He made it to AA Tulsa for 2 appearances. I'm going to talk to him next week. This is a guy out of South Carolina. He went to Coastal Carolina and had a decent year in 2019. COVID hit in 2020. He transfers to Mount Olive in 2021 and then has Tommy John surgery in 2021, right? And so He has Tommy John surgery that ends basically in March of 2021. That ends his college career. And the Dodgers pick him up because he has Tommy John. Nobody drafts him. Okay. Now keep in mind, this was one of the best pitchers coming out of high school in all of. He turned down a draft after he left high school. So he doesn't get drafted because he's dealing with the Tommy John issue. Signs with the Dodgers mainly because they are so good with the Tommy John situations. Sits out the remainder of 2021, all of 2022, and part of 2023. Comes into 2024. 2021, he goes down. All of 2022, part of 2023. I think 2023, he threw like one outing. So last year was his first year in full year of professional baseball. And man, did he explode. That back foot slider, that one right there, that one was to the back door, but it also goes to the back foot. The crossfire, the high leg kick, that's 96 miles an hour. That one there is 94, but he was touching 96 with Tulsa, and he was absolutely dominant. This is another Tommy John guy that is way under the radar. Look at that changeup. Way under the radar. They're right there, 95. Way under the radar because he had Tommy John, and because there's 96. You just saw it. Because he had Tommy John, he didn't get drafted, and so nobody knows about him. Garrett McDaniels, I'm telling you, turned as many heads in the Dodgers minor league system as anybody, as evidenced that he got moved all the way up to AA Tulsa. So Garrett McDaniels is definitely a name that you want to know. If you had a chance to meet any Dodger throughout your life, which Dodger would it be? Absolutely no doubt about it. It would be Kirk Gibson, just because of the home run he hit. So, hey, get to know this guy, Garrett McDaniels. Another guy that I want to talk about tonight, we talked about quite a bit last year, but really, really busted onto the scene in 2024, and that is this big dude right here, Patrick Copen. Patrick Copen was all the way up to 98 miles an hour this past season. His slider is dirty. He added in the offseason last year about 15 pounds of muscle, and man, did it pay off. Excuse me. It paid off because he came to the spring breakout game. He was fantastic, that slider right there, and he absolutely was one of the fastest risers in the system. Going to talk to him next week. Super excited about Patrick Copen and that big fastball that hits 98, 99. You see the downward tilt to it, that nice slider. It's all, came out of Marshall and very under the radar. Came to the Dodgers, one of those, I think you could probably list him in the project category. And, one of those guys that, hey, kind of like Eric Swan, if you can tame that fastball, get him in the zone, get him to learn some command, you'll have something. Well, not only do the Dodgers do that, they also added a lot of weight to him. And so I'm telling you, this is a guy that really, starting with the spring breakout game, just like Edgardo Henriquez, this is a guy, Patrick Copen, maybe you haven't heard of, but he had one of the best years in terms of making improvements of anybody in the Dodgers organization. Here is another guy right here that I want you to pay attention to. This is a dude, not a big guy, Jacob Metter, but look at the crossfire. This is a guy that absolutely knows how to get hitters out, and this is a guy that came out of the Dallas-Fort Worth area. He grew up about 15 miles south of Fort Worth, and was really, really good. One of the best pitchers in the United States of America coming out of high school. You see that crossfire. Went to TCU, played there for Jim Schlossnagle. Then he transferred to Dallas Baptist, where he played for Dan Hefner. Has always been a guy, I think he won 2 state titles. He was, like I said, All-American. And I mean, he was all everything in high school, one of the biggest prospects coming out. And he is what you're going to find whenever you watch him. He bounced around. He pitched. He had 3 performances with AA Tulsa. I was lucky enough to see one of them. This is like in the end of June here. And the crossfire combined with his ability to execute his fastball and locate his fastball to the parts of the zone that he was trying to hit, combined with his slider, to me, were very, very impressive. This is a guy, Jacob Metter. I don't think he'll necessarily be a starter, but I could see him being the next Ryan Brazier type of relief pitcher with that crossfire fastball and that really good slider. As a matter of fact, if you were to ask me who he reminds me of, that's exactly who I would say is Ryan Brazier. So he is a guy, this is Jacob Metter, again, that I think you need to get to know the name of. I'm going to talk to him next week, highlight him a little bit more. So super excited about him. Yes, Paul Charles, Patrick Copen is absolutely one gigantic dude. And then one more just kind of under the radar guy here that I want to talk about. If you have any prospects that you want to see that I'm not covering here, I'm just giving you some guys you may not have heard of in today's show. So we can get to anybody else that you'd like to see too. But this right here is a guy named Cam Day. Now, Cam Day, I'm not going to lie, he went to Utah. He grew up about, 30 minutes north of Salt Lake City. And he was a big deal coming out of high school at Layton High School there in Utah. Had a chance to get drafted. Scouts knew all about him. Scouts came to almost every one of his high school games. He's reached as high as 99 with that fastball you're seeing there. And his slider, that changeup right there is a good pitch. But his slider is absolutely dirty. Now, if you look at his statistics at Utah, I mean, it wasn't great. And from time to time, he has games that get away from him. And I'm going to actually ask him this question. I don't know the exact reason, so I'm actually guessing and making an educated guess based on me watching him pitch. It's just because his stuff moves so much. Look at that natural movement. That's a fastball that probably had 23, 24 inches of break. So he has that four seam that can kind of cut to the left. Then he has the two seam that can cut back to the right. And they both have a ton of movement. His slider has a ton of movement. So to me, when Cam Day is in the strike zone, he is as dirty as any prospect the Dodgers have. It's very Blake Trinan-esque type stuff with his slider. There, right there. You can see the two seam, the four seam. Watch coming up here. That slider right there, that's his little one. He has a bigger one. But Cam Day is another guy that I want you to, they're just the kind of a guy I wanted to highlight tonight and show you just kind of underrated guy that I think you need to know. I'm going to talk to him next week, get to know him a little bit more. So, hey, if you have any prospects you want me to cover, leave them in the comments. Leave me an email. Leave them in the chat, whatever. But until next time, I think that's going to be it. My throat is starting to hurt me, and my dogs are wanting me to take them for a walk. So I think that's going to be it for tonight's show. What a great crowd we had. Thank you so much for tuning in. It has been an awesome crowd. I say it every single time. You Dodgers dogs out there are the best baseball community in the world, and I cannot thank you enough. It is super humbling to see all the support that you guys give us here at Dodgers Dogs as part of the Dodgers Daily Network. So until next time, thank you for tuning in. It's a great day to be a Dodger.